welcome back to the Counteract podcast. My name is Allison Lind. I'm the host of the Thursday Arts, Pop Culture, and NYC segment, and I'm coming at you guys tonight in the dark with a little Q&A because tomorrow I graduate college. And so I asked people to ask me questions about my time in college, my time in New York City. I don't have a lot of wisdom to impart on you guys, but I've definitely learned a lot. And I have some cool testimonies from my time in college in New York City. We're going to get into that today. I will just warn you guys right now. One, I was just home as of literally last night, and my allergies are still off the roof from being back home. I was literally only home for 2 days, and I already can't breathe. I gotta get that checked out at some point. So if I sound super wheezy in this episode, that is why. Also, it's super late, and I want to apologize for not having an episode out last week. I just couldn't. I genuinely, I wanted to. Thursday was my last day of classes. I had 2 huge projects due. I literally I didn't have the time. I could not find the time. I'm running on a collective, 48 hours of sleep from the past month. I think I slept 3 hours last night. Because finals, work, and then the day after finals, flew home, watched my brother graduate, had a grad party, came here, spent the whole day with my family. Tomorrow morning, I'm waking up to graduate, spending the rest of my day with my family. The next morning, I'm going to work, staying overnight, working till 12, coming home. My family and I are getting on a flight to go on vacation. So that's a life update. I'm actually on the verge of, a mental breakdown with, how little time to rest and just, if you saw the state of my apartment right now, it's not good, guys. It's bad. And I have people coming over tomorrow night. So I'm probably going to be up another who knows how many hours trying to make it look like I didn't grow up in a barn. So, if I get emotional in this episode today, that is why. Also, these are just some really heartfelt topics for me, but that's the main reason why, is because I haven't slept and I'm tired. Nonetheless, we're going to get into the episode today. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about these things. Genuinely, I wanted to make sure I got this episode out and another episode before I go on my trip so that you guys are getting to see all of this. That we're not missing any more weeks, So I'm super excited to get into it. First, I do want to tell you about our amazing sponsors, Patriot Mobile. You know them. You love them. They are for the Americans who have had enough of supporting companies that hate their values. So if you are one of those people and you're tired of compromising and putting money where your mouth is not, it's time to switch to Patriot Mobile. They're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They're an example of putting the cause ahead of the profits, and that's why I am so proud to be partnering with them and sponsored by them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military, veterans, and first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes switching super easy. You can keep your number, your phone, and your upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan to fit your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/counteract or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use offer code COUNTERACTUSA. Join us. Make the switch today. Once again, that is patriotmobile.com/counteract or 972-PATRIOT. Let's go, guys. Alrighty, let's just jump right into it. If I can find my notes. Here we go. The first question I got was, why is it called the Big Apple? Great question, and I totally meant to Google it before this episode, and that is just the one thing I forgot to script out. So why is it called, we're going to do this in real time, the Big Apple in New York City? Okay, here's what Google AI tells us. Multiple origins. First is horse racing. In the 1920s, New York Morning Telegraph sports writer John J. Fitzgerald, name sounds familiar, heard African-American stable hands call New York City race courses the Big Apple. Fitzgerald named his racing column around the Big Apple and popularized the term. The second one is big red apples. In the 19th century and early 20th century, big red apples were considered special. For example, teachers in the U.S., Denmark, and Sweden would give teachers a fresh apple as a form of flattery. I think that's supposed to say students would give teachers an apple. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just going off of some like cartoon stereotype that I grew up learning. The last is jazz. In the 1930s, jazz musicians used the term to refer to playing big-time venues and gigs in New York City. The nickname was formally adopted as the city's nickname in the 1970s following a successful advertising campaign by the New York tourist authorities, which is also really interesting because the 1970s were a really bad time for the city. Crime rates were super high. Times Square was a dangerous place to go. So it's kind of cool. Well, maybe not cool, but interesting for sure to think about that this is the time that New York City became what it is today in terms of the Big Apple, but also in terms of a lot of policy and social changes that were made. That might be a whole episode for another time, but super interesting. Ad executive Bill Phillips devised a campaign centered around the idea that you have to be a little crazy to live in New York. It's true. Ads were printed on subways, buses, newspapers in the city. T-shirts, pins, and stickers promoted the Big Apple, and they quickly became popular, thanks in part to the help of celebrities like the New York Knicks and legend Dave Debush. Oh, gosh. All of my sports fans are going to hate me for this one. Deboucherie. Whatever. I do parkour. I don't do sports. So that's my first answer. There's a lot of reasons that it's named the Big Apple. Second question. Was it hard to adjust to the city, and what was the hardest part? It wasn't hard to adjust as far as lifestyle goes for me. I settled in really smooth, and like I'm a super adventurous person. I like to try new things. I like to be uncomfortable. So the city was a really good place for that for me. And I found that I fit in really well here in a way that I could not really fit in back home. I've made super valuable friendships and with people that you wouldn't meet in Arkansas, from different cultures, religions, backgrounds. I was kind of the like black sheep in Arkansas. It was really hard to like have conversations with people sometimes because I think our interests just differed so greatly. And I don't know, I just always like saw a different life for myself, I guess, which, you know, in hindsight was the sovereignty of God. But yeah, here I feel really comfortable leaning into who I am and who God has made me to be. Part of that also just has to do with the fact that I have a faith here that I didn't have back home. And so the ways that God is sanctifying me and like affirming where he's calling me, it's like, well, I just have to lean into that and be confident because it's the Lord. And like, if people judge me for that, they kind of have to just get over it because I'm going to obey the Lord at the end of the day. And trust me, I've struggled with this, especially when it comes to dating. I feel like it is very hard to find Christian boys who are not either intimidated by the whole parkour thing or who don't think that I'm like, I don't know, like secretly liberal or like dumb or raging feminine. I don't know. Like, I just feel like I appear as a liberal and as a feminist and all of these things. And I'm not that way, but because of the appearance and because I'm not, I don't know, I've struggled with this. The trad wife movement has really gotten to me, and that's a whole episode that we can do later on. But all that to say, despite that, I've become very, very confident in just pursuing the things that like God has called me to pursue, such as parkour or living in a maternity home or like maybe someday going on a mission and like dying a martyr. We'll see what happens, but I have loved getting to explore like spontaneity and just be adventurous, and the city was like such a good fit for that, and it just gave me the freedom to go do that because really no one cares. Like, no one's gonna look at you on the street, no one's gonna bother you if you're being a weirdo. So because of that, yeah, I had a lot of freedom to like figure that out for myself. And I just like culturally just match really well with the city. And I like the challenge of a secular environment, which I'll talk about later in this episode. But yeah, so it wasn't super hard to adjust for me. However, there was one thing that I've struggled with, and I still struggle with, and this I would say is the hardest part of adjusting, which is learning to say no. I've always been a busy person. I always want to do a million things. I want to be a million things at once. Like, I remember in high school, I was doing 5 a.m. swim practice, 6 and 7 a.m. dance practice, going to school, going to swim practice, going to theater rehearsal, and I just repeat it the next day. Like, I want to be all these like extremes at once, and I've always like that worked for me in Arkansas. Here it doesn't work so much because there is just so many things to do in a day and less time to do it because transportation probably takes you an hour. You have to allot yourself an hour to get from one activity to the next, no matter where you're going. So yeah, I have really struggled with that. And like I'll fill my schedule to the brim without realizing it, and that's obviously very unsustainable. Like here I am recording at 11 p.m. at night and not doing well. But however, most of that is out of my control right now, actually. That I just have to go, I have to take the punches and go with the flow here. But this is like not that uncommon for me to be in this position. But that being said, I've improved a lot in the past few years. Like I have learned to sacrifice things, even if I don't want to, even if it's really painful. Like I sacrificed parkour this past semester. I failed miserably at the last competition I went to. I didn't get to qualify for the international, like the championships. Super disappointing, super painful. But like, I just had to sacrifice that for the sake of finishing this godforsaken thing called school. Gosh, don't even get me started. Yeah, so I'm kind of rambling now, but it's a 24-hour city. Like, it really is a city that never sleeps. And if I didn't have to sleep, I would fill my schedule with 24 hours worth of things to do. Because there's this, like, common mindset here that says, if you say yes, I'll take with no second thoughts. So you're kind of responsible for, like, speaking up for yourself in a way that isn't necessarily common or, like, as needed back home because there's like hospitality and, you know, niceties. Here it's like, hey, that's your fault for like being too naive with me, basically. So I've had to learn how to balance that, and yeah, still a learning process. Hopefully it'll get easier with now that I'm out of school, but definitely the hardest part of adjusting for me. Number 3, now we're really getting juicy, guys. How did you learn to ground yourself in the Word in a liberal arts environment, and how do you grow closer to God in a setting that typically draws most people away from Him? Firstly, it took both experience and discipline for me to like get to where I'm at right now. And like it literally took until my last semester of college for it to actually click. It was actually a 4-year process. And you know, I'm a baby believer. I was saved in 2020. So I know that this is like, yeah, I'm not giving myself probably enough credit for like how short of a time it happened in, but it took me 4 years to even understand like how to ground myself in the Word, like to not be stuck in religion, but to really get like it finally clicked this semester that like this is how you ground yourself in the Word for a relationship, not just because you have to. So yeah, when I moved to NYC in 2020, I was a baby believer. I had officially dedicated my life to Christ only 2 months before moving here. Some people were nervous for me to go to the city because I was so new to my faith and because it's such a challenging environment. But I actually think that it worked in my favor and to my advantage because I was coming here and I had to question everything. Like I was in a season of questioning everything. One part of my worldview was flipped upside down and suddenly I was like, well, damn, what else am I being lied to about? What do I not know? So I came here with that mindset already, questioning everything. I was constructing my worldview as I was facing issues in real time, which thank God for the Holy Spirit and the ability to discern, because I mean, yeah, none of it was of my own accord. It was literally just him like putting discernment and like an intuition in my heart, and guiding me closer to him with each issue that I faced. So I had to develop my faith in a very critical way. And I was learning so many new things about who God was, and everything I encountered was held up directly against scripture and against the character of God. Like, it was this constant, I mean, basically what counteract exists to do, right? Oh, this person said this thing to me in class today. What does the Bible say about it? Like, how do I answer this better next time? So that was how my faith was. That's the foundation of my faith, basically. Where am I going with this? Because I'm not answering the question right now. I guess I'm giving you background. It's not the Bible Belt here. NYC is probably one of the most hostile cities in America towards Christianity and Judeo-Christian values. You literally cannot be a lukewarm Christian here. There's only two options. Either one, your faith fizzles out, you conform to the world, and you leave Jesus behind, or you have to jump right into the fire and stand on what you believe. And I think if I had not given my life to Christ when I did, I would have lost any trace of that Judeo-Christian upbringing, because one, I wasn't rooted in faith. I didn't truly know who Jesus was, but two, I didn't see anything wrong with what culture and the media was telling me. And that's what I was raised. I mean, I was already like getting to that point. God snatched me out of it in the nick of time. Praise him for that. Yeah, I know that would have happened because I watched it happen to almost every single person in my graduating class this year. But thank God that I was refined by fire very quickly, and it required me to lean on him and know what I believed and why I believed it. There was no room for comfort, so being here drew me closer to God in a way that just couldn't happen if I had stayed in Arkansas. And there's a reason that Christianity is so strong and thriving in places like Korea and the Middle East. It's because hostility breeds radical and wholehearted faith. It breeds a Daniel 3 type of faith. What's the Paul verse that says suffering develops character, essentially, or suffering produces character? Let's find it. Suffering produces perseverance. That's the verse. Romans 5, 3-5. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. Hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Bars. And that's pretty much what happened to me. And how I feel it was actually very valuable to be a new believer in New York City, because it does, I mean, it's like pressure forming a diamond, you know? Also, I just want to say this. I didn't always believe this, but lately I've been feeling like it doesn't make sense for Christians to avoid industries and cities that are in misalignment with their values. I used to be in agreement with the call to localize, but God actually changed my heart. And not saying that there's one way or the other. Like, I do believe not everyone should move to New York City. Not everyone is made for it. Like, God equips us for the things that he calls us to. So I know that some people, like, localizing is the lasting impact that they will have on the kingdom, and that's amazing. But I don't agree that we should all do that. I don't like the pressure of doing that or feeling like I have to do that when I feel, I mean, God is so clearly calling me in the opposite direction of that, to like walk into the battlefield or whatever. So he changed my heart on that a lot. And I realized that we have nothing to be afraid of. Like, God isn't going to let us go that easily, and he isn't going to let our children go that easily. I say this from experience. Charlie Kirk says that when you send your kid to college, you're playing Russian roulette with their beliefs. And I think this is totally true unless you as a parent are raising them to know exactly what they believe and why they believe it. I remember Abby talked about in her letter to high school seniors that her mom made her write down every issue that she would face, every issue that Christianity addresses, and write down what she believed and why she believed it. And I think if we're raising our kids to do that, to be equipped and ready to go into that, I don't think we should be scared of college. Do I think we should all go to college? No, that's a different tangent. But I don't think we should be scared of college or scared of moving into these more hostile places. Like, God is not going to let us go that easily. His word stands true yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And it holds true against every worldview that we face in our day. There's nothing new under the sun. God is not caught off guard by whatever we face. These new critical theories that are being spouted off in college institutions and industries like the arts. He's not caught off guard. So we can go into these places and challenge the word and challenge God, and he's not shaken or hurt by it. And actually, I have learned, and I feel like when we challenge the word, we're actually just opening up a window for him to further manifest his glory to us and to those around us. When we learn to approach our faith like that, it's almost impossible to let it go, because God is faithful to prove himself to us time and time again. And you can't deny something that you know to be true. People don't die for something if it's a lie. So, yeah, I just think we're called to go out into places that don't know the gospel. Like I said, it may not be for everyone, and not everyone should come to places like NYC, but I do think NYC is no different than your workplace or even like a school in the Bible Belt. If everything on earth is claimed by God and counterclaimed by Satan, then it's not NYC versus insert name of small town, mid-America town. It's not the arts versus insert name of slightly more tame or normal career field. In the eyes of heaven, it's either a place where God dwells or a place where he doesn't. And that's not up to us, or that is up to us to decide as believers, and not up to the world. Because 1 Corinthians says we are the dwelling place of God. We're the sanctuary of God. Whether we're safe in a church or burning at the stake for our beliefs, the world can't take our faith away from us. And New York City and the arts industry can't take that away from me. So that's a lot of philosophy, but these are kind of the realizations that I've had that helped me become grounded in my faith. Literally the first one was just I jumped right into the fire. To sum this all up, I jumped right into the fire and was required to lean on God. And not only that, but challenge him in a sense. Contend with him. Say, hey, God, I'm putting myself out here for you. Make your glory known. Make your fame and deeds known in our day and our time, because I might die for this. Not literally, but it's a hostile environment. So both of those things helped me really stay grounded. And lastly, I just learned they actually can't take my faith away from me. I don't have anything to be afraid of. I'm allowed to enter these scary places and know that the hand of God is over me and protecting me. And it changed my heart a lot about how we approach these environments. And there's more practicality to this, and it actually just ties into the next question, which is, how did I navigate spiritual warfare? Okay, friends, we're going to cut the episode here. This Q&A got super long, and we want to make sure that we don't talk your ear off for too long. So we're going to end the episode here and pick back up next week with the rest of the Q&A. I hope that you enjoyed it so far and that you really, that you found insight from it. Yeah, we'll get back to you next week for the rest of the ep. Cool beans. You know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Give us a good rating. Every episode you give a good rating for boosts our ratings exponentially and helps us to get better sponsorship, to create better content for you guys, to do better events for you guys. So yeah, every ounce of support that you give us is super helpful and truly makes a difference. So yeah, continue to support the podcast. We love you guys so much. Hit us up on Instagram. I'll see you next week. Okay, love ya. Bye.